Okay. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Amma ba'd. Let us have the sincere intentions. We're doing this lillahi ta'ala and not for the people, because if we do anything that is to please the people, the hasanat will not be accepted. Okay, so today we're going to finish the chapter of the sins of the hand. If this can work. Okay. So the author said to refrain from paying one zakat or part of one zakat after it's due when one is able to pay it, or to pay an invalid zakat, or to give zakat to those who do not deserve it. So, explanation. The one who is obligated to pay zakat has to pay it in a valid way. That is the way that Allah Ta'ala ordered it to be paid. So if zakat is due on someone and this person is able to pay zakat, for example, he can reach his money, and the people who deserve zakat are there, he can find them in his community. But despite that, after it's due on him, and after he is able to pay it, he does not pay it, he commits a sin in this particular case. Also, obtaining, abstaining from paying zakat is a big sin, and it's not permissible to delay it after it's due. So, for example, if the zakat is due on him during the month of Shaban, this is when he has to pay it. It's not permissible for him to delay it up until Ramadan, for example. The time of paying zakat is a time that is prescribed in one to pay it in accordance to the religion. If someone pays, if one pays some of the zakat, but not all of it, he is still sinful. Of course, that is if he is able to. So let's say if 20 dinars of gold are due on him, he pays 10 and he stays away, he doesn't pay the other 10, then he is sinful for that. If someone has to pay zakat, it is not valid to pay something other than what is prescribed in the rules of the religion as the due zakat. We went over this previously in the chapter of zakat, um, but if you need a refresher, I can drop in the link for you. Just let me know. So if he pays something other than that, even if this thing has a higher value, this would be sinful. And on top of that, it's the zakat is not valid. And on top of that, he has to still pay zakat to the people that Allah ordered him to pay. So, for example, someone has to pay zakat a certain amount of silver, right? This is what's due on him. But instead, he pays a certain amount of gold, and this is invalid. Even if the price of gold is equal to the value due on silver, or even more, much more, it's still invalid. He has to pay zakat the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made obligatory to pay it. Also, if a sheep is due, right? Some people have a lot of sheep, they have farms. If a sheep is due on him, it's not permissible for him to pay a cow or even a camel, even if the value of the cow is higher than the value of the sheep. If wheat is due on him as a cat, it's not permissible for him to pay money as a cat. Again, this is according to Imam Shafi'i. Imam Hanafi has different rules, and for some people living in the West, the Hanafi, if you have cash, you are bounded to do what the Hanafi says you can do. Okay. So it's prohibited to give zakat to those who do not deserve it. So if one gives zakat to those who do not deserve it, then this will be invalid and is haram. And again, the zakat is still due on him. So for example, those who pay zakat to build a mosque, a school, or a fence surrounding a graveyard, or to buy a piece of land to bury Muslims in it, this is not considered, these do not go for zakat. These are not zakat eligible. So these are invalid acts of worship. It's haram. We have to obey what Allah ordered us to do. And we have to obey the orders of Allah, not the rules that we make ourselves. And if we follow the rules of Allah, they will be accepted. If we won't, then they will not be accepted. So the ones who want to help the money out, so for example, for the masjid or school or surrounding, they can do that. And that's considered charity. And that's outside of the obligatory zakat. So zakat has its own rules, but as far as charity going above and beyond, you can basically give charity to whoever. But zakat goes to specific people, as we mentioned, the poor, the miskin, those who go to war, fi sabilillah, those who collect the zakat money. Um, yeah, those are the ones that are on top of my head right now. The author said to refuse to give an employee his pay. Explanation. Is it sinful to not give the employee its pay? If you agree with someone to do something for you and in return you give him a certain amount of money, then it is not permissible for you to abstain from giving this person the amount that you agreed upon. In a Qudsi hadith, and Qudsi hadith means it's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says, Allah says. So in a Qudsi hadith, it is mentioned that there are three people that are going to face a hard situation on the Day of Judgment, and one of those three is the one who agrees with an employee for a certain job, and the employee does the job, and the employer does not give him a salary. So the author said to refuse to give the starving what fulfills one's hunger, and to refrain from saving a drowning person without an excuse. And this is in both cases. So explanation. If someone is in a critical situation, he does not have what fulfills his hunger. He does not have enough clothes to prevent him from being harmed by the heat or by the cold. In this case, it is not permissible for those who know about his situation to neglect helping such a person. So let's say 10 people know about his situation, and these 10 people are able to help him. All of them abstain from doing that, then all of them are sinful for this. If someone among them, one or more, they took care of the situation, then the others are not sinful. But if all of them abstain from helping him, although they can do that, then all of them are sinful, as mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which means if one spends the night at his place with a full stomach, while his neighbor is hungry and he knows about him and he does not help him, then this person would not have a complete belief in the Prophet ﷺ, which basically means he would be a sinner for neglecting helping the needy person in this case. So helping the needy person is not something that you have a choice, right? It's not a choice, either to do it or not to do it. Your brother or your sister who are in such a situation has they have the right on you to get help from you. So it's not that you have the choice, as in, oh, it's okay if I do it. So if I don't do it, it's okay if you do it. It's okay if you don't do it. You're safe. That's not the situation. Your brother or your sister who is in that situation has the right on you to help him or her. That is when we say brother or sister, we mean first and foremost, yes, blood, brother and sister, but then we also mean brother or sister in Islam. That is an except for an excuse. So sometimes you have more than what you need for your basic needs, but you cannot reach the one who is in need to help him, or your money is not near you. Like you don't have your money, you can't access your money. Now, to help this person, you're excused. You have an excuse because you genuinely just cannot help this person. Likewise, if someone is drowning and this person can help him, it's not permissible for you to neglect helping this person who is drowning. So let me draw your attention here. If you cannot ignore someone who is hungry, then how about the person who is misguided? Because the harm caused by misguidance is more severe. So it's an obligation. And if one neglects fulfilling the obligation, one would be sinful. So if someone is hungry or if someone does not have enough clothes, the worst thing that this person, that will happen to this person is that he gets inflicted in his body. But in the case of misguidance, in most religious states, is inflicted, which means his akhirah gets inflicted. And we know that after death, it's not like we're done, right? We are still accountable after death. So, in terms of the religion, the reason why it's more severe is because it has a huge impact on how you will live for the rest of your existence. This world ends, and we all will end eventually, but Jannah never ends. Not a Jahannam never ends. And we have to take caution and we have to be aware of how we want to live our life, where we want to be after death. That's why um, misguidance is more severe. The author said to write what is prohibited to say. Explanation. One is not allowed to write what one is prohibited to say. For example, you're not allowed to curse a Muslim. Likewise, you're not allowed to write him a letter cursing him. Just like you are not to say blasphemy, it's not permissible for you to write it. Some scholars said the pen is like the second tongue. Whatever you have to protect from your tongue, you need to protect your pen from it. This includes typing. The author said to betray, which is the opposite to sincere advice, and this includes deeds, sayings, and conditions. So the explanation. This means that one might betray by sayings, by doing things, or by attributing oneself to a certain state. If someone safekeeps with you a certain amount of money, it's not permissible for you to spend it. If you do that, then you are betraying this person. Also, by the way, here, if someone gives you something to safekeep, you have to keep it in a place where such thing is usually kept. So, for example, if he gives you a certain amount of money for you to safekeep, you wouldn't put it in your jacket and then put your jacket wherever, or you wouldn't put it in your closet and you wouldn't, wear it and go make wudu. For example, no, that's not what happens. You would have to keep it where money is usually kept. In this case, if we're looking at America, it'd probably be like a bank. You put it in a place and you lock that place. Could possibly be like a safe, for example. So if someone gives you some money and tells you, keep this money and give it as a donation to such and such association, you can't keep it in your pocket for several days until you pay it. You need to keep it in a place where money is usually kept. And then when you are ready to make the donation, you're supposed to make the donation as soon as possible, right? So it's not, you can't keep it and then keep it in there for however long you want. This is what it means to not betray a person. It was narrated in the hadith that the Prophet said, which means the one who does not avoid betraying, his belief is not complete. I.e., meaning the person who betrays his belief is not complete. So that is something that a person needs to work on. So betraying does not only apply to financial issues. If someone asks you for advice and you give him the wrong advice on purpose, then you would be betraying this person. If someone asks you, I'm thinking to marry this woman, what do you think? What do you think about her? Can you give me advice? And if you give him the wrong advice on purpose by knowing that this woman, she takes people astray from those who marry her, and you don't give him the proper advice, rather you tell him, oh, like she's okay, you can go ahead and do it, like this woman is very good for you. This is betraying. If the parents of a female asks you, what do you think about so and so? He wants to marry our daughter. And you know he is a bad person, he is going to affect her in a bad way. It's not permissible for you to betray them. Some people think, I do not want to have problems with this person, so I'll tell them it's okay. Go for it, like this person is okay. I don't know anything bad about him. For example, by saying that he's betraying these people, one needs to observe the religious rule before thinking about pleasing people. Also, this, talks about if a parent, how are they talking about their son? They can't paint the son in a particular manner that makes the father of the girl or the girl herself think that, oh, this person prays, he doesn't hate, he makes money, when in reality, he's very angry, he cusses a lot, he doesn't pray. I know a lot of parents do this, especially in marriage. They paint their daughter or their son in a particular way just so they can, could you call, get them off my hands. This is haram. This is not valid. If you know something about your daughter, you know something about your son, then you have to say what you know and be truthful. Sometimes one pretends to have a certain status while one does not have that status to trick others. Also, like if someone pretends that he is qualified for a certain job while he knows about him that he is not qualified for this job. So to get this job, he pretends to be qualified. In this case, he would be betraying the people. Even if someone acts in a way to trick people to think that he is qualified to lead prayers, for example, when he is not qualified to do that. And he himself knows that he's not qualified, he would be betraying them. If someone acts in a way to make people think that he is pious person, so they would give him gifts or give him a certain position while he knows for himself that he's not like that he cannot fulfill this position given to him or the like, he would be betraying them. And so basically what we're saying is that betraying has different aspects, it's in different categories. It's not only reference to money. Okay. Let us stop here for this section. If you guys have any questions, again, let us just let me know. Let us say tahleel and as-salah ala nabi. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم.